Okay, so you asked me to give you feedback on a few items. The first is the police car usage. And were you specifically referencing the data that we requested around employees being drug tested after vehicle accidents? Or were you talking about vehicle accidents or vehicle
We were looking for the
usage in
location of them, whether people were on duty and not on duty. And then I thought we were also looking for those that were towed, had to be towed, because there's a different protocol for accidents where they have to be towed.
To see if they had been drug tested,
Yes.
if they had been towed, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had requested the initial data from them, and they had given us the name, the department, the officers that had vehicles, their rank, and the type of car. We followed up with a second request, including was the officer on or off duty, the severity of the accident, were they drug tested, time of day. And that was sent to Mark Leach, and he just got back to me a few days ago and said that that data wasn't collected in any one place, and that if we wanted it, we needed to send a formal request through the board as we had before for the previous data. Initially, they had said, just come to us whenever you want data, and so I did that, and he said, I reached out to my contacts, and it would take them many hours to pull this data for you, so if you would like it, you need to send a formal request from the board.
How is that any different?
It's not going to take them fewer hours if we send a formal request. It's just a way to drag their feet.
Yeah.
Is there any way to cut down on this in the future to find out what exactly do you need? And so we have that on paper, on stone, so that we don't have this again. We're like, oh, we need this, we need that. Bring me a whole rock drill. I know it's very ambiguous. But
Like if I had a letter from the board anytime I needed data and I just send it to them, is that what you're saying?
Is that what you need?
Is that what
Well, that's what they're requesting.
It's data. I'll sign a blank check for it. I don't care. Do you guys care?
That's something
I don't
else
care.
that's on here about data tonight. But
Well, fine. Let's ask the board to essentially give a blank form to Miriam to ask for whatever data she wants per us.
So we'll bring that up, saying that we'll just draft a letter saying that this is our person to give report data to.
Right. And just like fill it in.
Okay.
It's data.
I think it's a matter of when you make a request and it's so cumbersome that it would take them 50 hours of work to pull it, and so they don't.
Well, the fact is, even if all we were doing is making an IPRA request, I mean, but we don't have to IPRA this, and they're acting like we do.
Right.
They don't seem to understand that we have access to this data. It's not just a good idea, it's the law.
well, we'll talk about this more when we get to the ordinance. But I'm wondering, do you feel that there's something that it is too cumbersome to ask for this data, or do you feel there's some pushback from Mark, or that Mark's getting pushed on? I mean,
Well, I think you don't know what you need until you need it.
I think that there's maybe a certain piece of data in here that is not in a database. They're not collecting it, so they have to go back through written reports or something. That's my mind.
that's your guess.
Someone is...
I don't believe that.
I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't have data on the severity of their accidents. That seems like pretty standard data to have. Whether the employee was drug tested, that's in a system somewhere.
It sounds like they don't have the data.
I mean, did they have so many accidents that it's going to take them 100 hours to look at each one and say yes or no that was towed away and there was a drug test?
Well, I just want to point out that the last board meeting, she didn't report on the accidents. That was not part of her report. And she had been reporting on the accidents previous.
Who? Jen?
Lieutenant Garcia.
Yeah.
She
Jennifer.
wasn't on the list this time. And so
We know it's not because they didn't crash.
yeah, and so I just started wondering when I didn't want to ask about it at the meeting, but I wondered if this has become sensitive or something. I just was curious.
So what's our moving forward? What do we need to
to do?
to do.
I'll ask.
So, I have a couple of thoughts. I mean, we could literally ask the board for essentially a blank check to give to Miriam. The other thing we can do is have the board give the chair and the vice chair authority to do this on behalf of the board, and all you have to do is call us and we say yes or why. And
But I'm afraid of setting a precedent there, because where does it say that they need authorization from us in the first place? Why do we need to give that authorization?
right, it's true. They said come to us with whatever you need. You don't have to do a formal process, and now they're saying they want a formal process.
Well, does the formal process, does the formal request then, I guess, is it necessary that it comes from you?
I don't
Or
think
does
so.
it just simply need to come from us to say, here's our request for this data?
Dr. Verplues is the agent of
Right.
the POB, and
Right.
she should be able to get the
Right.
data she
Yeah.
needs.
So do you want to just kind of work our way up, and I can draft a memo and
Sure.
say, here's what Dr. Verplues requested, and just consider this a formal request for that data?
Mm-hmm. And send it to the chief and the DOJ and God and everybody. Say, you told us to come to you and keep this informal, and we did, and you said no, so
I'd include
now
that
it's
in there,
formal.
too. Now this is formal.
Give us the friggin' data.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.